Hey, what's up, guys? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's check out this sweet piece of Dali's persistence of memory, as most people call it, Dali's melted clocks. Not to be confused with Dali's melted cocks. Okay. This is like a very cool technique he's using surrealistically. You see how it's kind of an illusion that there's actually a cube here. I mean, it's very freaking interesting, this box which he drew because that's not normally how the ground works. The ground doesn't usually form up into a cube like this, and then I mean, have you ever seen a cube hill? I haven't ever seen a cube hill. But so I mean, I like to take this like very far. Like I'll take it to like be like all over the uh the map, like all over the ground. I'll have just, basic geometric shapes that kind of like vary up the ground, and it's like you normally for like the ground you would soften it up, and kind of have it more like rolling over, like more transitions. But it's kind of like an uncanny valley type of idea to have like the ground form into like really pure like planar, I don't know, having planes, like visible planes, um being made out of like, because they just straight lines like this just don't normally exist in nature. The only place that they might is in gems and things like that, like stones. They might be there in stones. But ground does not usually go into a straight line like this. But what it does do is that it makes showing this how this clock is melting much easier and possibly better. You know, now we just really feel that bend right there, and he's like really all he's doing to really show then, which is like, I mean, it's really good. Um, and it's because it's like simple, is that he just has this area shaded and this area very bright. And now he's showing us like that is kind of what is indicating where the light's coming from the most. And so we kind of know now it's like, oh, okay, so this must be like very late in the day. It must be like, sunset, like the sun is setting. It's right there. It's blasting onto that face of like both the clock and the cube. And if it was, kind of more of like a normal kind of hill where it was like, just rounded, then it wouldn't be bent, and it wouldn't be showing how much it's like really dripping. If it was like, I'll show you. If it was kind of like on this kind of like a soft hill, then we could have it like melting up on top of the soft edge, but it wouldn't really have the same punch, I guess. You know? Just the fact of having like this bend right there is really nice. And it's like this is also a nice way to show it. I have it like holding in, one spot, like pulling it tension, and it kind of creates a triangle of clocks, which is very nice. That's kind of a good thing to do compositionally, to kind of have, like, if you're going to put an element, it's not just there hanging out like with no thought behind it. Like he was being like, I'm intentionally putting three clocks into the shape of a diamond, or not a diamond, a triangle. And that's kind of now where our focus is. All our focus is in this triangle pretty much. We notice this clock first because it has the most contrast. So this would be one. This would be the second, I would argue. Uh, yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, these two are kind of tied a little bit, but I originally said one, two, one, two, three. So I'm gonna stick with that. Um, I would say the reason why this one is the first one we notice is not even because of just not even because of this. It's just because of this object here with all of the ants on it. like a lot of contrast going on of that, and so that kind of leads us into the picture, which is very nice. This is kind of where like the plane view, like the picture plane begins, is with this object here, and it sends us into this directory, like direction, trajectory, whichever word you want to use, straight into this clock, which then leads us into the triangle, which isn't something that we are consciously seeing, but it is something that we're subconsciously aware of. And so that leads us down into all three of the clocks, which I would then say leads you into this element here, whatever it is. It looks like cloth or something. It's a bit of just like a random imagination thing, not necessarily anything. But it does have a really nice clock melted on it too, and that's like a really nice foreshortening right there on that. This is also just like a nice head. It's kind of, it's animal-esque. It's like he's probably thinking about like ducks or like swans or something when he drew that one. And then I have no idea. I guess he was imagining the ground coming up here, and it's like all in shadow, so we can't really tell what's going on. Then we get this over here in the distance, and it's a really high horizon line. Like the horizon line is right at the top of the picture, which is very interesting. So the horizon line is what dictates if we're seeing the bottom of an object or the top of an object. And we are seeing the top of the objects all the way up to that clock right there. We're seeing just the tiniest bit of the top of it. And then assumingly we would see this, like if he continued to, like if he had more canvas and it was taller, we would start seeing we would be looking at the tree from the bottom, looking upwards at this moment here. Everything else is us looking down at it. So like a good way is that you just have to be sure. It, like if you just have to be clear of that in your mind, and like what I find is that you have the horizon line here, HR, and all you have to remember is that if we're looking up at it, we would be making lines more like that, and if we're looking down at it, we'd be making lines like this. That's it. This reads as looking down at something. This reads as looking up at something. Yeah, that's just how it works. And you just have to like be sure to just not confuse it. It's really easy to confuse things when you're like doing so much in a composition, but you just have to like kind of take it one step at a time. And then he continues it. This is something that he does do. This is like a kind of like a trope sometimes. I've seen it before where he kind of puts like a body of water into a cube or something similar like that. Like this doesn't really make sense. He put a pool and then there's the ocean here. It's just kind of like a stupid little funny thing. It doesn't necessarily, I don't know, it just was something that he thought of doing. I don't know. And then he's just got really nice like mountains and rocks out here in the distance. Like I don't know, they just look very nice. And it's really like this is not that much. Like it feels like so much when you look at it, but then you break it down, it's like, okay, what's really going down on here? We have three clocks, okay? So that's three elements. We have another clock with ants on it, so 4, 5 counting the ants. We have a cube here, 6 elements, a tree, 7 elements, this weird white thing, 8 elements. Then we have this ground plane, which is 9 elements, this like pool, 10, distant mountains, 11, then the ocean, which is 12. He painted 12 things. And that's kind of like the trick. You come up with the amount of objects you want to tackle. Then you lay them down into like on your rectangle, the canvas, into like a a system that looks beautifully, like mathematically. Like he created this line intentionally he created this triangle of clocks intentionally, and it's like mathematically, it's like on the it's kind of like on maybe like the second quarter of it, like a little less than half. Like he, like you just have to be sure to get your picture to look organized inside of the rectangle. Otherwise, it just kind of falls apart. And he was very aware of what he was doing. He has like a very busy section here, and then this area is very clear, and that's very nice. He's really pushing this like bottom left to top right angle, and so your eye is drawn to the place of action, like, and then there's inaction, which is nice. Gives your eyes a place to breathe and relax and really take in this like scenery. It's beautiful scenery. But that's just kind of some thoughts I was having about it. So here we go. I mean, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, buddies.